Stages in video games is something we're all familiar with, but stages in video games are rarely talked about. Sorry, that didn't make much sense. What I mean to say is a physical stage, like in a theatre or something. There's a lot of amazing ones throughout all of gaming, so wouldn't it be great to talk about them? I think so. Don't you agree, Rin?
Hi, hello! Confusing him right off the bat, hell yeah. Thanks for the introduction, Teal. Yeah, so Teal tells me he's a theater kid, and boy do I see that, because 1, his Twitch streams, and 2, I never really thought about it until he came up with the idea, but there are a lot more than you might have consciously recognized. And as far as I've seen, yeah, performative stages in games aren't talked about specifically for what they are unless they're in popular enough games that the stage can be talked about in isolation. Everything from grand-scale opera houses, stand up at your local cozy coffee shop, plays out in the streets within the context of the British industrial age, to the literal boundaries of heaven and hell and whatever could possibly fit in between. Yup, we do mean everything. Take away the rest, Teal. I'll come back in for my opening act.
Thank you. I guess we should begin with our first entry. I believe it was William Shakespeare who said all the world's a stage, so does that mean GeoGuessr counts?
What? No!
What if I happen to luckily be placed next to an opera house?
Okay. I'll be cheating a bit myself here soon enough. You can have that one, but only by technicality.
Oh, sweet! GeoGuessr uses Google Maps to plop you in a random location where you try and work out where you are based on what you can see. If you look hard enough, you'll probably find an outdoor concert which contains a stage. Loopholes rule! But I don't think it should really be counted. Or should it? I don't know, I'll let you decide in the comments. And whilst you're at it, I would very much appreciate it if you would leave a like and subscribe to both of our channels. It really means a lot. Rin's content is some of the best out there. Every video is super entertaining, so please check them out. For this video, we worked together, did research, asked you guys on Twitter and Discord, and chose 10 of our favourite stages each to take centre stage. We'll go over them in great detail, relishing in how glorious the set pieces are. As for the others, because oh my word, there's a lot, I figured we'd take a very brief look at them through honourable mentions. Not all of them, because we'd be here forever, but I think you'll get a good feeling for how wonderful stages and games can be. But enough of the preamble. Welcome to the show!
Bravo, my friend. Hear how the crowd adores you. They've not seen such a show in a long time.
Grimm's words echo through me as I think about the journey I've taken thus far. You may not have seen anything like this in a while, but buddy, I have been through a glorious ordeal. I've battled all manner of bugs, I've dangered the webs of fear, soaked in my own tears, and smelled more dung than is necessary. Not that a certain defender would mind. Hollow Knight is, in my opinion, the greatest Metroidvania ever made. Yes, even more so than the namesake. Hollow Knight hits that sweet spot every single time of being challenging, but fair. You will evolve with the game, you will learn more about your abilities and yourself, and you will love it. The music will move you, and it will bloody make you move, because oh boy, you're gonna have to move out of the way of those attacks. And visually, it's a sight to behold. There is not a single thing about this game that I dislike. It's perfect, and at times, perfectly infuriating. The Grimm troop mosey into town, and eventually it'll lead to a showdown with the leader, Grimm. This fight is on the circus stage in his tent, in front of a grand audience, and he does not mess around. Before the fight begins, he shows his respect by bowing, and then proceeds to annihilate you if you're not ready. Once you fail a fair few times, you do it! You succeed! You are the champion of the troop. But that is only half of the story. In true Hollow Knight fashion, the battle may be won, but something far more sinister lurks ahead. Nightmare King Grimm is waiting. This boss fight is optional, but it's a challenge worth enduring, much like everything else in this game. The sense of elation you feel when victory is yours. There's nothing like it. Oh wait, yes there is, because there are so many other bosses that'll put you through the ringer. Regardless, this is an epic boss fight. It doesn't let up for a single second, and I wouldn't have it any other way. All I can say now is thank you for this masterpiece, and bring on Silksong! It's Hornet's time to shine!
A Michael Jackson-inspired dance battle in a biblically-based visual gaming spectacle is a string of words I never could have guessed I would ever say. If you know anything about the game Okami and its developer Clover Studio, then a rather eccentric man might sound familiar to you. Sawaki Takayasu. Takayasu was a character designer for Devil May Cry, Okami, Fatal Frame Mask of the Lunar Eclipse, and El Shaddai, which was also his first game directing position. He's since formed his own studio, Grimm, which now holds the rights to El Shaddai. And the man is still very proud of the game and all the work he's done for it. I would be too if this was the kind of reception I was getting from gaming at large. Seriously though, El Shaddai does do a lot of weird but interesting things. The presentation is mainly where it's at, but it combines 2D platformer sections, 3D platforming, combo and timing-based combat that I can only guess Takayasu based on how cool you look and feel in Devil May Cry, and some seriously gorgeous background/level design to have come out of the PS3 360 era. The religious theming is not faithful or a main focus whatsoever. It's more of a backdrop to provide for a fever dream of an experience when combined with Takayasu's artwork. I am absolutely going to toot my own hunting horn here to mention that I have my own short video about a couple of pieces of lost media associated with what will likely be one of the most niche games you've ever seen. I think I distilled the very essence of what El Shaddai looks and feels like in it. I mean, I still can't phrase it any better. So to paraphrase from that, El Shaddai might be the most Japanese hack and slash game to have ever hacked and slashed. It is an ever-shifting visual experience that has the kind of over-the-top flair that only Japanese games can achieve.
Your satanically manifested hot twink partner calls up God on his cell phone like their homies talking about how their days went.
If you ever want to see Takayasu's style on full display in a video game, El Shaddai is the one. I can give context for this, but I don't think it would help all that much. This whole scene is just as out of context for you as it is for me playing the game. I'm starting off as strong as I can with this one because I need y'all to see this. No, I need y'all to experience it. So I came across some comments while I was researching for my own El Shaddai video saying that these moves were inspired by a very specific Michael Jackson concert. I highly doubt Takayasu would have ever made any kind of statement on this, but yeah, I mean, it ain't hard to see MJ's collective performance influences here. And yes, this is a playable section. You can slash at all the guys on stage, and Amoros moves around like he's living his best music video life, even blocking the screen. You're just along for the show. The footage speaks for itself. I sure can't top anything that's happening here. Go play El Shaddai Ascension of the Metatron on Steam. It's $30. Might be up your alley if you like Takayasu's or Hideki Kamiya's type of work. And if I haven't gotten your interest fully piqued, trust me, there is so much to see in this game.
Guitar Hero, the Beatles rock band, all the others. You know what kind of games these are. They're excellent rhythm games and you're on a stage. I mean, there's not really much more I can say for this entry. Through the Fire and the Flames in Guitar Hero 3 immediately came to mind for this video because it's so iconic for how insane it is. But as I wipe the blood off my little plastic guitar from how fast I punished my fingers, I get to enjoy a cooldown session as I jam to the Macarena. Oh yeah, I'm playing a custom track list on this game and it is amazing. Next up, Megalovania, followed by Sexy Naughty Bitchy Me. I stay classy.
El Shaddai's very loose religious influence is sourced only from one specific part of Judaism and Christianity that is not even widely considered to be canon. Shin Megami Tensei, on the other hand, is an entire franchise that plays with the representation of concepts, ideals, and character designs from religion and folklore across the whole world through a Japanese lens. Gnosticism is one that comes up a lot, and while I definitely can't cover what Gnosticism is here, just know that this is true of any RPG, and a lot of Japanese media to be honest, where you punch a god in the face at the end. In Nocturne's case, it doesn't seem to be as strong, it merely suggests Gnostic elements like the idea of the reasons. Some people are destined for some kind of freedom, others will be slaves in their world for as long as it exists. The reasons are the knowledge that you and the side characters need to escape from and change their once material-oriented world. The Vortex world was explicitly created with the Gnostic idea of countless connected spheres in mind. Take everything I say here with a fistful of salt though, I definitely don't fully understand Gnosticism myself. I couldn't figure out if the knowledge, called Gnosis, is thought to be given by Jesus, or if no one knows how it's obtained other than through some experiential means. I want to say Demi-Fiend eventually becomes something of a demiurge himself, since a key part of Gnosticism is that the world was not created by God, but instead a lesser divine being called the demiurge. The demiurge thinks that it's a god, but the world it creates is simply an illusionary prison. Which I would think is accurate for the end goal of all of the reasons in Nocturne. But the demiurge is already a separate entity in SMT, so I don't know what to think. Even if I don't fully understand it or know how to explain what I've seen, I think I can assume that a lot of things in the game are inspired by something along that thread, and not always, if ever, designed purely to look cool. I just wish I knew what that reason was for the stage here. So there's this place called the Amala Labyrinth that you are literally dropped into. This was what I meant by hell. If you have very sensitive trypophobia, I might suggest looking away for the time being. The first thing you see is a peephole that I can only guess lures your view within through demonic possession, deeper within the walls of the labyrinth, streaming with Magatsuhi. Demon eyes peer through pores in the wall to watch the red curtains of an oddly normal stage in this scenario draw back. To those that have played other SMT games, and everyone else that is not as dense as I am, the characters that appear on the stage will feel familiar, or at least not make much effort to hide their intentions. They were dubiously intriguing to me, playing through Nocturne as my first real Shin Megami Tensei experience, but more than willing to dump lore about the state of the world and plot. The information given to you is through dialogue over still images, applause and cheer sounds are played for the opening and closing of the curtain, though maybe that's because the demons know more than you and are in fact cheering for your eventual victory. In a game like this, I don't think it's simply there to literally tell a story, but I could be wrong. I don't know if the setting has been used in other SMT games with characters like this, and you have to go here at least once through the course of the game, so this isn't forbidden information to know. What they ask you to do is kind of hidden. You aren't going to know where all the fiends are for the menorahs that they want. This probably sounds so stupid. I'm probably overthinking stuff that's not even there. It's not actually that deep. It's probably just to make up the persona of the plotting old man, completely level-headed as he simply waits for his inevitable plan to fall into place before him. I don't know, dude. I'm talking out my ass at this point. Nocturne lives more deeply in my head than a lot of other games, so I defo wanted to make an entry for this one. And hey, if anything, chances are there's someone else who knows a lot more than I do and can run with this as a jumping off point.
What do you do in a world where rock music is banned and EDM is the only acceptable and available choice? Fight the establishment and chisel some sense into the world, of course. No Straight Roads is one of the best rhythm games out there, but it's certainly not conventional. You have free movement and you do not need to follow the beat, as it's a 3D action combat game focusing primarily on boss battles where they themselves attack to the beat of the music. With a passion for rock and a desire to stop the EDM empire's oppressive monopolization, you're gonna melt some faces, though not literally. Let's not go crazy. We actually did. No Straight Roads is such a joyous time. If you find rhythm games difficult for whatever reason, the ability to pick up on the rhythm of course helps, but it is by no means required. Use your eyes, your instincts, your shredding guitar, and take your indie band Bunk Beds Junction to victory. Against you are CEO Tatiana, DJ Subatomic Supernova, an egotistical space-themed DJ, Sayu, a bubbly virtual pop idol, Tenten, a robotic K-pop band, Eve, a diva specializing in abstract art as well as her musical artistry, and finally, the reason we're here, Yinu, a piano-playing prodigy. Before I talk about Yinu, I want to praise this game's soundtrack. Every single song is an absolute bop, and it has multiple versions of each one. The theme starts off neutral, but as the battle rages on, it'll switch to a rock or EDM remix, and they're equally as good, if not better in some cases. They even went as far as to make some free DLC, which made a Christmas variation of each boss, including a Christmas remix. They didn't have to go that far, but I love everything about it. I think it's time to finally talk about Yinu. Personally, my favourite boss of the game. Maybe my favourite music too? I don't know, the whole soundtrack's really good. Yinu, as a child prodigy, is a little bratty, but it's also not necessarily her fault, as her mother is really pulling the strings, dictating the way her life should go by being overprotective and controlling. Her mother is the true member of the EDM empire. Inu of course loves her piano and will get sad when anyone mocks her skills or tries to take away her pride and joy, but she's also very afraid of her mother, which makes sense as she takes the manifestation of some sort of evil heart demon. The stage they're on is ripped apart and the battle continues in another realm where she becomes a spider cage. It all culminates in Inu claiming she hates all of us and her piano falls and breaks. Her mother realises how she's been acting and comforts her. They're just your typical dysfunctional family when you get right down to it. Inu's so young and will learn, grow and evolve as she gets older, and her mother will hopefully get a frickin' grip. Regardless, this boss fight is super fun, the music is stellar, and it's on a pretty badass stage if I do say so myself. Not many stages crumble and fly through demon space, but this one does.
After years of longing to one day play through this entire game, having seen chunks of it online and through other personal playthroughs failing, I am stoked to say that I've finally become a fan.
Well, it's about fucking time.
Look at this intro and main menu and tell me you don't want to rock with Jack Black and Tenacious D, the video game. I always thought from what I saw of this game that it was so off the wall and over the top in every way, especially as someone who barely qualifies as a fan of metal. You can watch any best moments or out of context compilation for this game on YouTube right now, and I swear that is all you need to want to see a heavy metal world manifested through Jack Black and Double Fine's 2009 minds. Brutal Legend's entire intro, from booting the game up to being isekai'd into the metal world, is nothing but iconic, and as the man himself puts it,
it's not just gonna blow your mind, it's gonna blow your soul.
You open to Jack Black's character, Eddie Riggs, the best roadie in the biz who can fix and build anything from guitars to stage setups, for yet another poser concert.
Ever feel like you were born in the wrong time? Like you should have been born earlier, when the music was real?
Man, I said this shit when I was a teenager, but I do get where you're coming from, dude. Despite being disillusioned with what heavy metal has become and having a group of dumb teenagers as a band, Eddie is still a good guy and looks out for them. One of them gets too in over his head, climbs on top of the ginormous heavy metal incarnate beast of a stage setup, and, well...
Once in a while he might step on stage just to fix a problem, to set something right. But then before you even realize he was there, or what he did, he's gone.
Yeah, this is so fucking cool. The creature that's summoned through Eddie's belt buckle seems to be inspired by a creature belonging to some albums by Motorhead, which, of course, also exists as a real belt buckle. Lemmy Kilmister is in this game, by the way. They call him the Killmaster. The whole game is Double Fine and Jack Black's humor and passion through and through. Ozzy Osbourne in the flesh as a guardian of metal. This screenshot, which I've seen going around online completely out of context, love that for this game. And so many references and clear inspiration jam-packed. Just take a good look at General Lionwhite. This game also still has multiplayer. I figured they would have killed it for a port of an older game like this, but yeah. On the PC version, you could play against AI and play with up to 8 people in online matchmaking. Choose your character, stage, music, and work to destroy the opposing side's stage. This is how most story battles in the game work, so there are stages all throughout as a game mechanic. Each side battles the other for control of the stage and putting on a better show and having more fans. For full disclosure, this game has a smaller, tightly designed open world, hack and slash combat, a few different kinds of side quests, and real-time strategy. All of the stage battles are real-time strategy, or RTS for short. Which is not a bad thing at all. I only say this because apparently this was not advertised very well at launch. It does kind of feel like something that comes in out of nowhere, like, oh, you thought this was a one-time gimmick? No, we're completely serious. Thankfully, while there is the smallest of learning curves if you aren't familiar with RTS as a genre, Brutal Legend is a short game, so it does not demand a lot from you. Some missions can be annoying. I did legit have to look up speedrun tech to get through a few of them, but I would chalk that up to me just being complete shit at most video games.
You don't have to think extremely strategically about most anything in the game. You just need to know your arsenal and the fundamentals, which the game will gladly tell you. I definitely enjoyed it as someone who has never played an RTS in their life and tends to enjoy systems and games that are easy to pick up but an intimate and optional challenge to master. The game does not overstay its welcome. It is there as long as you're in the mood for some metal. I thought about it while I was at work, and I couldn't wait to play it when I got home. It is an absolute blast every step of the way, from its world, soundtrack, character designs, humor, and gameplay. Brutal Legend does have an easy difficulty if you're worried about the RTS stuff, and alternatively a brutal difficulty if you do crave more of a challenge, which can be changed at any time. So try it out, see if you like it. It's one of those games that goes on sale on Steam like every other week too, but whatever price it's currently listed at, it is absolutely worth it.
It's fucking awesome!
Final Fantasy VII, the ultimate JRPG game changer if ever there was one. I'm not going to spoil anything even remotely substantial of this game, but I only just played through it recently, and wow, it is incredible. You owe it to yourself to experience why people hold it in such high regard, because I totally get it now. It goes through twists and turns I wasn't expecting, and I can't begin to imagine how impactful certain things were at the time when it launched. Nowadays, it's all spoiled somewhere online. Everyone knows one big plot twist because it's like gaming's worst kept secret or something, but regardless, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about a stage. I was torn because there's an amazing stage in Wool Market at the Honeybee Inn, made even better in Remake, where Cloud does an awesome dancing rhythm game and Aerith just cheers for him letting loose. Aerith is a goddamn treasure. But no, we're here to talk about the Gold Saucer play. Somewhere near the end of Disc 1, where everything is cute and magical and you don't know the true meaning of sadness, you get to go on a date with one of 4 characters. Aerith, Tifa, Yuffie, or Barrett. Who you go with is determined by a bunch of factors and choices you make throughout the game, which I won't bore you with, there's a lot that determines it. Sadly, Barrett won't take part in this portion of the date. Rebirth, you better change this. As for the other 3, you take a trip to Event Square with the Gold Stage. Upon entering, you will be congratulated as the 100th couple and get to take part in the play. You are the dashing hero, and a fearsome dragon has kidnapped your date. This is such a cool segment because it goes so over the top and really commits, and I cannot wait to see it remade. Regardless of who you go with, you kiss them, and with the power of love, the dragon is defeated. You then dance off stage, and it's so sweet. However, if you go with Yuffie and say the wrong things, she'll be angry with you, basically say screw this, slaps Cloud unconscious, punches the dragon into the next section of the Gold Saucer, and leaves. I love Yuffie so much, especially in Remake Intergrade. This whole section is really sweet and really funny, and encapsulates the essence of Final Fantasy VII. I wasn't expecting this at all, but I'm so happy it happened, and I cannot wait to see the Gold Saucer remade in Rebirth. Given that they expanded upon everything 5 times over in Remake, and Gold Saucer is already massive, I can see myself spending like 30 hours here. I wouldn't have it any other way though.
I haven't played Fable 3 in a very long time, and with Lionhead Studios having been shut down since 2016, and the PC ports also not being available anymore, there is no hope of it ever escaping the Xbox 360. I swear, it was still on Game Pass, which that actually initially shocked me seeing it on there, because that's legitimately the only way to play it if you don't want to pull your Xbox out of the attic or something. But, yeah, as of writing the script, I'm pretty sure it was still on there, but I don't think it's on there now, which really sucks. Along with Fable 2, but we're getting off topic. The Fable games probably don't hold up very well, but I still love them very much, in all their goofy, Simlish glory. Fable 3 has a side quest called The Missing Play, in which a pair of a troupe each specialize in tragedy and comedy. They want you to recover a lost play by a guy called Philip... What is that? Philip Morley to give them inspiration for their own works, as the Lost Play also combined comedy and tragedy elements. It was not received very well. You go in the library in the town of Brightwall, find the book, a ghost that sucks you inside of it, and you're stuck. The 2 actors hired a detective named Ransom Locke, I'm totally serious, that's about the extent of the humor in this game, to find the book, and he got stuck too, so you're forced to play out scenes from various Morley plays, until the game decides that you've experienced enough of its corny acting to be able to leave. All of the plays have the good and bad Fable action options that change the conclusion dialogue of each play. They do not affect your hero's overall morality. This is just a really silly side quest. The first one is the Nier tragedy of Oliver and Ethel, which is made funnier if you play as a guy because the game forces you to put on a dress and a woman's voice.
My heart is yours, my love.
Alternatively, you can blast this dude's face off.
Drop dead.
After that is Bloodbath at the Royal Court. You get to be embarrassed by a chicken in true Fable fashion, or rather, be embarrassing with seriously what I can only describe to be Sims interactions. I don't think he's ever met a real woman in his life. Next up is a, quote, notoriously violent historical epic called Titus the Mutilator Part 2. Nope, no Part 1. That one must have also sucked so bad that Morley canned it. You can either die as the play intends, or you can defeat all the enemies coming at you. The audience loves it either way. And lastly, returning you to reality is the Lost Play, called...
I call it the ham sandwich.
That's Fable humor, everyone!
Every so often, a game comes along that changes how people look at games. A lot of the time in the past decade and a half or so, those have been indie games. Braid, Super Meat Boy, Journey, all amazing. But Undertale is a game that shocked the world to its core. A game so impactful, by a developer so creative their talents have stretched into mainline titles like Pokemon and Smash Bros. But what is Undertale? You probably know, but in case you don't, it's a turn-based RPG that turns the conventions on its head, shakes the conventions so they fall out of their pockets, picks them up again, and then rearranges them because they had to quickly scramble to collect them. The combat focuses on the bullet hell convention of games to avoid attacks, but every single attack from each new foe is so unique and crafted to their personality, as is the other mechanic in the game. Pacifism rules! And if you want, you can absolutely spare every single enemy in the game. You don't need to kill them, what is wrong with you? Beyond the gameplay, there's a creative story with a lot of heart and a lot of love, depending on how you play, but also a script so tightly written, it's an inspiration to so many. There's humour that's injected into every single thing in the game, and it rarely fails to land. Genuinely, Undertale is such a funny game. But that brings us to our stage, darling! Can I talk about this section in less than 60 seconds? Or else, you die! Let's find out! Mettaton is a charming, shining personality in the body of a robot created by Alphys. I have a thing for presenting television shows, my dear, and that is what this segment of the game will consist of. My question segment is so funny and so wacky, you can't help but love it. I also have a tremendous singing voice, so I'm not sure you've earned it. My first boss theme is pretty spectacular, but that's nothing compared to my ultimate form. Darling, you don't know what you're in for when I get on that stage. My true form is a thing to behold, beauty incarnate, and that stage! It's pretty great, but focus on me, please. This is my show. Look at my stunning dance moves, the ratings will explode, as will I during the fight. I think this show really has legs, even if I don't by the end. All you need to know, really, is Mettaton is amazing, as is the rest of the game. And there's a stage there! But seriously, pay no notice. This is my show. Also, you didn't die! Congratulations!
Yup. Yeah, just this one. I know, out of all the Pokemon contests, that this one is the most bare bones mechanically, but A, I grew up with Gen 5, and B, even though I and many others now outside of Pokemon's main demographic rightfully give the franchise a lot of shit for not being as advanced technologically as it could be, there are a lot of reasons to love Pokemon. Sometimes it's just from seeing your best buddies in a funny little hat doing a jig as you cheer them on from the audience. It's the simple things.
When it comes to 2D Mario games, everyone has a different preference, but there's no wrong answer. I'm personally partial to Super Mario World myself, having played and created Mario ROM hacks in my teens. And then, Mario Maker became a thing, and you know what? It didn't stop the hacking scene. In fact, it's just as popular as ever, and it's so impressive with what they can do. Look at this hack made for Awesome Games Done Quick. This is actual insanity. Wait, made by Maddie? Creator of Celeste? Oh, my dreams come true! You know what? You should play Celeste. It's a perfect 2D platformer with a nice difficulty curve and then an additional difficulty plummet if you want to suffer in the bonus content. And it's got wonderful advice on depression, panic attacks, and amazing trans representation. Sadly, there's not a stage in the game, but this gave me a nice excuse to talk about it anyway. Now, where was I? Oh right! Your favourite Mario might be Super Mario Bros. 3. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, hang on, there's not a stage in Mario Bros. 3. There's a grassland, some caves, an angry sun that should burn Mario alive with how close it is, even in the sky, a land of giant enemies, which the Mushroom Kingdom military should definitely deal with, Bowser's domain filled with tanks, and oh! The intro is set on a stage, meaning the whole game is Miyamoto himself has confirmed that the game is indeed a stage play. The whole game. One of the greatest 2D games of all time is the perfect candidate for this video. But you probably realised that was going to be the case, right? I mean, most people know about this, right? Wait, does that mean every game tied to 3 in Mario Maker is also a stage play? Is that how Mario can canonically survive Kaizo levels? He's just telling everyone he did all that stuff when in reality he probably just beat Bowser at poker or something? Nah, that's leading into crazy fan theory territory. Instead, whilst this entry in the list is indeed Super Mario Bros. 3, how about we add a little extra content? Paper Mario sure loves its stages. I'm sure you're expecting me to talk about Thousand Year Door and how all the battles are on a stage. But is it the same stage? Is the whole game a stage? Hard to say. Anyway, I want to show you Color Splash and Sexy Birdo. Say what you will about Color Splash and Origami King, and they're definitely not without faults. Their levels are super creative and unique, and I absolutely adore not knowing what's coming next. You may have noticed I'm leaving Sticker Star out of this. Anyway, Origami King has a stage play battle segment where you have to progress through a theatre whilst a bunch of toads are tied up, and you must avoid Shy Guys performing ballet to a remix of Swan Lake. This is beyond exceptional. Also, Mario gets a big kiss from Birdo on stage. What would a love bite from Birdo even look like? It would be like you've had a plunger to your face. And you know what? I guarantee a lot of people would like that. There's over 600 Birdo images on Rule 34, so do with that information what you will.
Yup, I've still got plenty to say about Okami. Objectively, everyone's favorite critical success, but commercial flop upon its 2006 PS2 release. And then over the years, of course, it slowly picked up steam, gaining a cult following through its multiple ports, and people coming to realize that stylized video games are the ones that age the best. It is now one of the most significant and artistically discussed video games of all time, and enjoys its rightful spot in the gaming and art world, even if it took over a decade. Okamiden, so far, has never been able to find itself in a similar place, however. Okamiden, I can already hear people saying. So Okami did get a sequel after all? Yeah! One of the best video game sequels I've ever played, I would say. I know Wikipedia and even the developers call the game a spiritual successor, and I should mention that the last time I played through the whole game was years ago, but it takes place in the same world 9 months after the events of Okami, and the gameplay is pretty much the same as Okami. But, in an obvious and genius move, takes advantage of the DS touchscreen to bring new mechanics that perfectly fit the already existing mechanics and justifies a sequel gameplay-wise. It features returning characters and our new pup, Chibiterastage. Yes, that is his real name, and he is perfect. He is Amaterasu's tiny son. So, yeah, I'd call it a sequel. I'd guess the reason it isn't considered a sequel is because it was actually made without the key original members of Clover Studio or Platinum Games. Which makes it all the more impressive that this game is as faithful to Okami's tone, gameplay, and writing as it is, while still adding plenty that's new. It's super charming, super cute aesthetically, visually impressive for the DS, and full of more Zelda-style puzzle solving. This is the one game I can actually say would work wonders on the Nintendo Switch, since it has a touchscreen and the menu could easily be pulled up with a button like in Okami. It needs some kind of port or new attention. I swear, it seems like people either don't know about it or like to pretend that it doesn't exist. Chucka Conroy has a playthrough of it if you feel so inclined, and while it is a bit pricey for a 10-year-old game if you want it in box, thankfully it isn't one of those games that has shot up into ridiculous price ranges. The stage in this game is a full package, an entire level where you make your way through a playhouse taken over by demons alongside your new partner, the spunky and bossy child actress, Kagu. One of the main new features of Okamiden over Okami is that throughout the game, you encounter different partners who have different abilities for their sections of the game. Kagu is able to cross platforms that are invisible to Chibi and fall under his weight anyway, so you lead her across to press switches, open chests, and to give Chibi a hand in crossing other areas. Kagu isn't doing all of the work though. Sometimes Chibi has to kill demons so that Kagu can pass freely, and has to time switch presses to protect Kagu from other dangers. There's also a decent amount of platforming in this area after having little of it up to this point in the game, and a bit of story. I won't go that far into spoiler territory, but just know that this is Kagu and her parents' theater. There's more to Kagu than when you first meet her, and she goes through some very quick but efficient character development by the end of this place as a dungeon. Now, the boss at the end is a giant puppet possessed and piloted by demons Sen and Ryo. Even though these games seem to have a more playful and perhaps surface-level take on aspects of Japanese culture and beliefs, it still goes pretty deep since it is the entire basis for these games. And I suppose it feels deeper to me anyway, because this is all stuff that I am not familiar with at all, but I will try. Here's your obligatory, I'm probably going to pronounce all of these horribly incorrectly despite my best efforts. Sen seems to be dressed similarly to an onagata, a male actor who performs female roles for kabuki plays. The reason for this being that for the last few hundred years, kabuki have always had an all-male cast even when female roles were included. Sen's full Japanese name is also Senryo for the Ryo unit of currency, and I thought maybe that's what the design on its wings are? There's no higher quality version of Sen's art, so it's hard to make out, but that might be what it is. I have no idea if Sen's kimono colors mean anything either. Ryo, on the other hand, I don't have as many details on. He appears to don what I would assume is a hakama, with these golden storm cloud-like patterns that I'm not sure if they have any significance, or if the hakama being black is also significant. Although I can say that he does have kumadori, which is the makeup that kabuki actors use. You fight both of their puppets individually, and then the two fuse to become Renjishi, who, of course, resembles a kabuki actor. The name Renjishi comes from a popular kabuki play of the same name, about a lion testing the capabilities and relationship of him and his cub. The theater is also, of course, designed after traditional Japanese theaters, with a part of the rotating stage even having pine trees as the backdrop, as does the Renjishi play. This is called Matsubame Mono, which is a term for kabuki plays that took elements from other styles of plays called No and Kyogen. Also not sure of the reason behind Renjishi gaining a lizard mask upon fusing, though. So, yes, it's a pretty fun game. Cool boss fight, cool level. Okay, so someone on one of the Chugga Conrai Okamiden LP parts said that Kagu and Chibi's dynamic reminded them of Kagome and Inuyasha's early relationship, and oh my god, I can't stop thinking about it.
Let me set the stage. The year is 2016, and I'm about to be transported to the year 11945 AD. I've never heard of Nier before, outside of passing comments, and Simone is the boss they decided to show. What a boss to showcase as a preview. The visuals, the action, the intensity, the music, the stage? Okay, yeah, that's not really important, but it exists, so I can talk about Simone. Thank you, Yoko Taro. But to be fair, if I said that Yoko Taro could look into the future and so I'd make this video about stages and wanted to include Simone just for that, you bet your ass he'd say that's the only reason he did it. Lore doesn't matter anymore, only chaos. Okay, I've got to bring up that when I'm typing out Simone in my script, I keep accidentally typing simp, and I have no idea what it's me. I'm the simp. I simp Simone and her gorgeous melodies. Simone is a beauty-obsessed opera singer, using her songs to hijack into androids and eat their flesh to make herself more beautiful. You know what? You could eat my flesh No, I must stop. Jokes aside, her story is one of tragedy, as you'd expect from Nier. Simone was obsessed with another machine called Jean-Paul, but he sadly paid her no notice. In order to get him to recognize her, she would replace parts to become more slender, but he still wasn't interested. As her mind began to crack, she became obsessed with stealing other machines' flesh for her own. Yes, she's cannibalizing androids alive, and she's not killing them in the end. She turns them into mindless, weaponized puppets, designed to lure more androids into her lair, which is where 2B and 9S come in. If during the fight you get hit by certain attacks, you enter a hacking shooter section, where upon success, you have to assume she'd do the same to you. Halfway through the fight, she brings the androids you've been detecting into her battle, where you have no choice but to kill them. Upon Simone's death, the androids' black boxes are fried and they are at peace. I don't think it's made clear if they were still aware of what was happening to them. They're referred to as corpses, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're gone, being androids. I really hope they didn't know. Ultimately, she just wants to be more beautiful and concludes the battle in the B-side of the game by claiming she just wants someone to look her way. This is the tragedy of Simone, of the brilliance of the game, of how society has evolved, and of how captivating stories are. It doesn't matter that she's a machine. The connections made through this game, Simone, 2B, 9S, the rest, they're real. They matter, regardless of who they are. Simone made poor decisions, and life would be different for everyone involved if the avenue was different. Whilst not the first, Blade Runner was a big deal for this kind of thought in a multimedia sense, and this just takes that and amplifies it. It's not the first, it won't be the last, but this one has a stage in it.
Here's some tonal whiplash for you. Let's talk about the coziest and most inviting of video game stages or performers in general, so big that he has his own Wikipedia page and is popular even with real dogs. Mr. KK Slider. Everyone loves this groovy, laid-back virtuoso. Of course, modeled after Kazumi Totaka, one of a handful of composers for Animal Crossing since the very first Japanese entries, KK has also been present in every Animal Crossing game. Functionally the same, but different in presentation. Our man, or dog in this case, has been independently producing his concerts and albums and inventing his own sound in true indie fashion. Truly one of the most influential artists of our time.
He has such a way with words.
Personally, I grew up playing City Folk with my mom, and at this point it was such a long time ago that I don't remember many exact details, like when or if we had heavily abused time travel. But I think I do remember that every day I would come home from school, I couldn't wait to see all my friends in the town. Except for Hopper, I'm sorry, I was scared of him as a kid. But I especially could not wait for every Saturday night, run on down to the museum basement at 8 p.m. on the dot, and there he was. Down in the OG roost, waiting on his single request of the night, tuning and strumming his guitar. We didn't know the actual names of any of the songs or thought to look them up, but hey, I think taking KK's suggestion to simply chill with whatever tune I or we were feeling that particular night made it feel that much more special. You were only allowed one KK single once a week, so whatever he picked was surely meant for you. The changing camera angles, watching the credits roll, and reflecting on your time throughout the game, the room dims as a disco ball suddenly appears, and you're left sat in your seat by the end, the vibes still flowing through you as you hold on to him for as long as you can, before you acknowledge that you have to head to bed. I love New Leaf a lot as well. I probably put even more hours into it than City Folk, but the firsts always mean the most. Oh, Dr. Shrunk ain't bad or anything. He's cute. There's just a vast gap in a minute-long, primarily text-based performance masking a simple mechanic acquisition that honestly didn't do too much if you didn't play multiplayer, versus a musical performance made just for you with either option you pick that you can take home with you to listen to and re-experience again and again. And that's in a game that takes a lot of pride and care into its music and sound design. I think lots of people would have a harder time remembering a Dr. Shrunk skit over a KK Slider concert. Shrunk can be endearing, but KK is iconic in every game he drifts to.
Depression is the fourth stage of grief, so let's talk about OMORI! There are 2 stages of note in the game. Nope, I'm not re-experiencing that trauma for a depression joke. OMORI isn't on my list, it came super close, but I couldn't not bring it up, cause it's an absolute masterpiece of a game. I want to briefly talk about the stage in Sweetheart's castle. Sweetheart is a self-obsessed beauty, and her boss battle is exceptional. Her anger and desire to be loved radiates and truly comes alive in this boss. But more than that, the music for this is insane. I love how hard it goes. It feels like I'm at an epic concert. Oh, and speaking of which, how about we go to the actual entry? What do Ariana Grande, Travis Scott, Marshmello and more have in common? They have all performed at an epic concert. In other words, a virtual concert in Fortnite. Now, say what you will about Fortnite, it brought about a massive shift in the industry. It's impressive how it's constantly evolving, albeit not always for the better, but having a concert in-game is seriously cool. Imagine watching this live as it dropped with all your friends. It would be absolutely wild. But Fortnite is not the only game to do this. South by Southwest performed in Minecraft, and I love this so much because they called themselves Block by Block West. Lil Nas X performed in Roblox, and Korn performed in the MMO Adventure Quest 3D. These games are massive and continue to be massive. I'm personally excited to see more of this, but maybe it's more exciting to see it in person. Right, Rin?
Oh hey, you made it! Yeah, come on, got a seat for you right here. Think of any Japanese property, it probably has some kind of alternate adaptation for it that doesn't seem as common with other properties. From official radio dramas to entire movies, and of course, stage plays. Some of which are even considered to be canon to their respective property. And of course, you've got your musical performances like any of the numerous Final Fantasy concerts, the Kingdom Hearts Orchestra World Tour, or Pokemon Symphonic Evolutions, which ran from 2014 to 2016. I never did get to see that one, but I really wanted to. Pokemon had another live stage play in Pokemon Gotta Catch 'em Live, which was based on the anime and not the games. Though I'm sure plenty of people know about that one because it looks a little 2001. I found out about it through J-Wits at some point, and man, for real, what was the deal with this Mecha Mewtwo?
Sorry to interrupt, Teal here. I've just seen Mecha Mewtwo for the first time, and why does it look like something out of Robot Wars? Why?
There was also the Zelda concert tour, The Legend of Zelda Symphony of the Goddesses from 2012 to 2017. I might vaguely remember this one. I would have killed to see this in person too. A bit of a tangent, but I thought it might be interesting to also mention that plenty of anime and manga get their own musicals and stage plays in what are called 2.5D musicals in Japan. 2.5D since it's exclusively for 2D mediums being brought to life on stage, such as Sailor Moon, Rose of Versailles, Bleach, Danganronpa, Sakura Wars, a Dragon Quest ballet, and Inuyasha. Boy, I might have to check some of these out in full. For the sake of this video though, there aren't actually a whole lot of video game based ones. Persona actually holds most of them, so I went ahead and watched part of the Persona 5 stage play. It was pretty good. The costumes and wigs looked great and accurate, all the performers fit their characters well. I like how they had all these screens on stage to show certain scenes from the game for extra effect. And it's easy enough to follow what's going on if you've played the game. And ladies, if you ever wanted to see a catchy sing, he has his own song. Even Joker has songs, or as he's known in the performance that I watched, Itsuki. He talks a lot more in the beginning of the play than I remember him doing in the entirety of Persona 5. I would guess it covers most, if not all of the games since Futaba and Haru are in it, and it seems like they're getting ready to finally wrap it up this year, and in the coming year release Blu-rays of it. It'd be neat to see other games get something like this. Oh, and if you don't mind embracing a twinge of cringe, there are plenty of videos of cosplay contests where people will come up with their own little stage skits at cons, and those could be super fun to watch.
Cuphead is the master at replicating the true style of the brilliant 1930s animation. To replicate it at all is something to behold, but to capture it in a game is such a flex. With what they've done for the gaming industry and animation, I will devote myself to Studio Moldenhauer. You absolute gods of creation! Take my firstborn. Take two! Okay, maybe that's going too far. Just the one will suffice. Sally's Stageplay is a late game boss, and like every other boss, it is super simple. Wait, no, the exact opposite of that, incredibly intricate with like a billion things going on at any given time. Sally's Stageplay happens to not only feature a stage, but also ends up being one of the most complex bosses and has a genuinely deep story going on as you're fighting her. Sally's just minding her own business, ready to get married to the man of her dreams when, oh my goodness! A cup with guns for fingers starts gunning her down? What could possibly possess him to do something like this? The devil? Oh yeah, that checks out. After a while, she leaves with her hubby. Actually, did they complete the ceremony? You know what, doesn't matter, she'll be dead soon. No spoilers. You now arrive at her lovely abode. She has a child. Aw, how adorable. Pity we're here to ruin her life. For no good reason, might I add. We are arguably the villain for a lot of these. After this phase, we move on to the Final Fantasy boss phase. I mean, actually though, I've not played it myself yet, I do plan on getting around to it, but I think this is inspired by Final Fantasy VI's final boss, and oh my gosh, it's incredible. Everything is held together with string and rope, the attacks are revealed in the corner, the big wave is just a dude holding some cardboard. It's absolutely awesome to see how faithful it is to the concept. This really is Sally's stage play, but as we've established, it's not her stage day, as soon there'll be a coffin in which she'll stage lay. The final phase is pretty straightforward. She hangs from a wire receiving applause and roses that Cuphead must avoid, as well as her spinning top umbrella, and then the battle is done. This is her final act. It's truly tragic that she had everything taken from her. Except, that's not the only ending. There is in fact an alternate way to fight her, and it is a way sadder boss fight. If you jump on the two flying angel babies, a pedestal falls down and kills her husband, leaving her sobbing. The second phase has no child, she's at a nunnery. Phase 3 is kind of better. Her husband is alongside her, and the one fighting is now their angel baby, so mild happiness, I guess, until we ruin it in about 30 seconds. The new final phase is the same, except the priest and the nun are watching this whole ordeal, doing absolutely nothing. They may as well take their phone out and start filming it. So, all in all, this fight is ridiculous, it's tragic, it's multi-layered, it's on a stage, which you probably knew 1 second going into this segment. It's just brilliant! Oh, and shout out to the asbestos safety curtain. It's incredible irony that a ticking time bomb is supposed to be for safety, but yeah, they're actually real, or at least they were. Oh, you've gotta hope there aren't any more of them around.
Just in case everyone here has not experienced the potentially $100 train wreck that is Fire Emblem Fates, boy is it one of the Nintendo consumer experiences. Fire Emblem Fates is a 3DS game that was separated into 3 branching story paths sold separately. They all feature different playable characters, lots of unique maps, story beats, and cutscenes. Birthright and Conquest at $40, and Revelation for $20. I am a Fire Emblem weeb. My first game was Awakening. I love my daughter Lucina very much. So, of course I wanted the next iteration of parentless blue-haired sword lords. Except, that was only half the case for double the price. All 3 games were available digitally and physically, except for Revelation, which is a DLC-only path. Blame me for this entirely, I didn't look into it before buying it. Yeah, I also bought Pokemon Shield physically. Just your average Nintendo shill. I got both Birthright and Conquest physically not long after release, and was expecting to promptly play Revelation. I may be stupid. I don't remember exact details here either, but I think I didn't realize that no matter what you did, you still had to pay for Revelation separately. I somehow figured that if I had both, I just got Revelation automatically. What you should do is buy one of them physically and one of them digitally. The digital version opposite to yours will be discounted for $20 instead of $40. But that doesn't even fucking matter now because the eShop is literally closed. There was the special edition that had all 3 routes on one cartridge, which was a good thing to be fair since it was $80 upon release, and was actually released outside of Japan, unlike the SMT4 Double Hero Pack. But that also does not fucking matter now because 2016 was... Funnily enough, I was also under the impression for literal years that you couldn't get Revelations if you bought both games physically. Thank God that wasn't the case. But, to be fair again, people still rag on the sales model in comparison to Fire Emblem Three Houses, another game with alternate story paths, but all in one $60 package. Revelation is just as much a full package as the other routes, and Fates as a whole does offer more unique content than all of Three Houses routes combined. I'm really sorry for how long-winded that was. I need you to understand how deep the discourse goes. So you finally buy the damn game, hopefully rope some friends into it, because if y'all could go along for the contrived and plain stupid ride, it is still good old Fire Emblem gameplay. And it's plenty fun to meme on. There's a chapter in Conquest where our main dumbass Corrin, a child so sheltered he had no idea about the ongoing war in his own country, visits an opera house, because his clearly villainous, manipulative father, King Garen, just wanted to watch some young girls perform for him. It is at this moment that our lovely songstress but inevitable collection of plot holes of a deuteragonist, Azura, decides to slip away. Yeah girl, I would be running as far and fast as I could. Take a look at Azura for a second. Long blue hair, yellow eyes, uniquely designed dress. Got it? Okay, good, because Corrin did not, despite knowing her and having fought at her side for weeks at this point. Literally right after Corrin remarks, "Oh, well, I haven't seen Azura in a while. She would love this." The cutscene of her dance starts, she uses her water powers during it, which is something that only Azura can do, and from spoilers later on in the game would have absolutely been recognizable by Garen just by the color of her hair and the lyrics. The mysterious singer disappears, and Azura immediately happens to rush back to Corrin's oblivious side as the battle begins. Can you believe it gets even dumber, because this scene also happens in Birthright, but there it is explained that Azura is properly disguised by magic to appear as another character that is not present at all in Conquest. Why is this in one game and not the other? And I've seen some people say, oh, they didn't recognize her because they were sitting far from the actual stage. My point about the water magic being invisible at all, the clearly visible no matter how far away you are blue hair, and the sound of her fucking voice still stands. There is a point in this sequence that is not revealed until later, which is fine. But in the moment, oh my god. This is the tip of the iceberg with Fates. It is a painful love-hate experience. But yes, there are things to love here. Despite how poorly thought out this whole scenario is, Azura's dance and song, which are completely different in Conquest and Birthright, are beautifully animated and choreographed pieces for the 3DS. I watched the Phoenix Master 1 HD uploads of both versions repeatedly to hype up the release. I love the Lee and Lee cover of the full song. And I'd be willing to wager that these scenes alone were big promo pieces for Fates. Azura's character design alone is enough, but the way that her hair flows in the air with every graceful step, the elegant, effortless, but controlled dance of Birthright versus the seductive, quick, and intense movements of the Conquest dance. And the song lyrics that can sound a bit crammed if you're listening too closely, because translation is a very tricky effort, but they are still super memorable and equally beautiful. While the stage itself is not an important part of the performance, since it's only as extravagant as it can be within the bounds of the 3DS's hardware, it is a neat jumping off point for its concept. The front of the stage is surrounded by water, and I guess, judging by the one image in the game, and the way that the map of the opera house is laid out, you can sit as close as you want in a boat to watch the performance. There aren't any stages exactly like this in real life, as far as I can find, but there are plenty of ones that incorporate water into their performance. Not like brightly lit water spouts from the middle of a lake, as neat as that can be. I'm talking entire dance routines done on a water stage, projections and lights and people on trapeze and wires included. There were aqua dramas in the 19th century, which even Wikipedia says there isn't much documentation for. So this is all you're gonna get at surface level. They would flood the stage to recreate historic naval battles down to real guns and 177 very precise scaled down replicas of the ships used. It took 12 men, 12 hours to fill the stage's water tank. These would be performed in front of a mostly drunk and rowdy audience that would try and jump into the water to see if it was real. The tanks were removed in 1824 once the show started getting less popular, as the people realized, holy shit, war is bad, and we're paying for it in taxes! Aqua dramas didn't seem to have any kind of lasting impact, but there is one water-based performance I would like to quickly highlight. The House of Dancing Water in Macau, China. It has wet and dry stage performances, it's a storied play with no dialogue, all kinds of huge props are used, and I'll be honest, I can't quite tell how the stage is laid out. I thought it was a round platform in the middle that was surrounded by water, and around that are the audience seats. But looking at pictures and videos, there's no way that would be the case. Regardless, props are housed under where the audience sits, and for the entire duration of the show, there are divers moving props around and making sure the actors are safe when they fall in the water for the performance. It looks
absolutely incredible. It's been going since 2010 and you can find all kinds of videos on it. I can't even get into all the water shows that I could find. This in itself is a tangent. There are so many I probably don't even know about, and well, anything I might know about real operas or stage plays comes only from sideways, but it's an interesting rabbit hole to go down. Back to Azura's performance, all of the above is in combination with the art style of Yusuke Kozaki, which I am quite attached to thanks to Awakening, of course. And Azura's voice actress, Rena Strober, who was very proud and receptive to all the praise she got in her performance in the game. Go listen to the full song's English and Japanese versions, including the in-game version with the extra verse from Revelation. It is genuinely still so good that it gives me chills.
And here it is, my favourite stage. There is no stage greater than this piddly little thing that celebrates a cheap award where you slaved away working for the birds in a hat in time. Whilst you do get an hourglass for your efforts, is it really worth it? You don't even get to see your movie, just the countdown on a loop. So lame. Oh wait, this is a fake number one. A Hat in Time is genuinely one of the best 3D platformers ever made. So creative with perfect controls. But the stage is lame, and to be fair, it's intentional. So before we get to our number ones, let's look at a lot of honourable mentions.
Forgive me if there's an earlier example that I just don't recall, but Gen 5 was where it seemed like they really started to experiment with what a gym could physically be. The wait was totally worth it. I think this was the first time that real vocals were used in a mainline game. I jam out every time I come back here.
Technically, this boss in The Last of Us Part 2 is behind a stage, but you have to get onto the stage to get there, so... In any case, Ellie is fucking terrifying as a boss. Seeing what the enemy sees is always amazing, especially if executed well. In The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, there's a side quest to help the Great Fairy Kesa. But that's not important because there's a stage and they perform a remix of Lon Lon Ranch and I love it. That's the only thing that matters.
A tiny and endearing stage for a tiny and endearing game. For how simple Soul Blazer may seem on the surface, it really does have a lot to say. Highly recommend it.
Rin showed me this game I've never heard of and I need to play it. This looks like such a banger rhythm game. Oh, why so serious?
The mind of a theater actress can be truly troubled if you go too method. You don't want to know what happened to that one.
Nope, I've said too much.
When my friends pulled me back up, I started
The mad bastards have bloody done it again. What a performance! She's toxic. Give me more, you criminal. Hold me closer, baby, one more time. I'm a slave for you every time. It's crazy sometimes. Oops, I did it again. I confused Britney Spears with Courtney Gears.
Is Kirby. Good vibes all around. Need I say anything more? Well, actually, is this game also entirely on a stage since every loading screen has stage curtains?
Don't really have anything to add to this. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 has a really awesome stage, and I'm going to show as little as possible because, you know, spoilers, but everyone go play Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Xenoblade Chronicles series are just a masterpiece of a trilogy. Play it.
I've never played a Rayman game, so this is certainly interesting. If a spacefaring ballerina Valkyrie comes out of a flying washing machine ready to kill you, you know you're absolutely screwed.
Oh my god, this is the wrong theatre! There isn't a stage. I'm so sorry.
Team Star's bosses are on a stage being pulled along by a car. Now that's a moving performance. I want y'all to know that Teal wrote that one.
Now your eyes are fixed on me. Run to your marks, my pretties, and to your place, my puppets. Paint on your grins, no time to frown. I have arrived to claim more than my share of fame for one night only in your town.
This is one epic stage song for a villain. Try and top it, I dare you.
That means you're done. We could both be pirates on the sea. No
now, my little friend, cause Shakespeare's looking mean. I've had enough of you, so time to be my puppet. On a string, I've had enough of you. Oh, dance, my little Muppet plaything.
Oh, yeah, alright, that's pretty good too.
Okay, so I did actually play Sims 2 on the DS when I was a young kid. I don't remember a damn thing about it except for how bizarrely ominous it was in both the content and the atmosphere. I do not have a clue what is going on here, but I would say it's pretty par for the course with Sims 2 from what I know.
Oh, there's nothing quite like a gesticulating boss in a strip club.
You Belong in Pictures has a stage, and it's also Looney Tunes, and I love Looney Tunes, so I'm going to talk about Looney Tunes. Oh, I've already made a 2-hour-long epic about playing all 430 Looney Tunes games. Well, enjoy that on the channel then. Does a cinema count as a stage? The screen is raised onto a stage of sorts. Toy Story Racer is an awesome racing game on PS1. You should give it a go at some point if you haven't. Really, really fun. I now take it as canon that Engine created the Rock Band games.
Man, the art direction and animation in Freedom Planet 2 is so good. Look at that glorious opera house in the background.
Monkey Pink's devotion to Spectre really is a spectacle. I fulfilled my quota of talking about Gravity Rush 2. Game's a goddamn masterpiece. I love you, Cat. Shout out to the game Phantom Hellcat. It was shown off at Gamescom's opening night live and looks awesome, and no one is really talking about it. And look, there's a stage!
Forget the fighting. Look at the band in the background. They're going crazy.
I've played all of the Bratz games on my channel for some reason, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention their existence. Also, here's a bunch of dumb things I drew on their faces. I have to mention this boss just for the name Amadeus Wolfgeist. Absolutely brilliant. Need I say more? Tokyo Mirage Sessions is amazing.
I was pleasantly surprised by Life is Strange True Colors. Hearing Alex sing on stage was so emotional. And by that, I mean it was dead silent, because if you turned off copyright music, there was nothing to replace it.
Let's go to the opera! To battle Pete and the Beagle Boys. So glad I got Kingdom Hearts somewhere in this video. This might be the trippiest stage in all of gaming. The effect is playing havoc on my mind. I love it.
This jar bird thing is so cursed, and quite frankly, I expect nothing less from Klonoa. Good job.
There sure is a lot of fallout on that stage. Nearly as much fallout as the time me and my castmate had a falling out when we criticised each other's acting. I see Harley Quinn, I like. I see a stage, I like. Yes, I like.
In dreams, you can make anything. Even your dreams. Or a lovely stage. Something tells me Shrek is going to be involved in this somehow.
Of course Five Nights at Freddy's had to be here.
Battle Block Theater! Bust some heads! Push your friend and watch him die! Cool. Go up there now! Well, that's a nice trick! Kill your friend again, huh? And again! Battle Block theater. Go do that. Yeah. Grab a jetpack and fly to the moon. Throw your friend. Get the gem. Hop on that thing and get the gem. Again, Battle Block Theater.
This game is the fucking best, and it always will be. If I'm gonna be torn to shreds by some zombies, I may as well do it rocking out on a stage.
I know very little about West of Loathing, but this art style is super charming. I love it. 'Tis a good stage. Prop hunting Witcher is good and all, but it would be better if you could be the stage. This was so close to being on the list. The whole game is a beat 'em up on a stage through different scenarios, and it's so cool. It has online co-op, and oh my god, it's made by Mediatonic, the people who made Fall Guys? Wait, what? They also made Hatterful Boyfriend? Excuse me?
You're in my past, Joe. I had my fill. It couldn't last, Joe. Baby, I got bills. There's no one happy in a house on fire. Why do I still hear those sirens going? Baby, I get a chill. I get a thrill, babe, and I wanna run back. But I know I gotta stay.
Dang, I was hooked just from the one cutscene that Teal linked. It looks so good that YouTube categorized it as being Bioshock Infinite.
Dynamite Heady is insane. I love everything about this boss. The faces in the background for the band, the energy of the boss, the music, the stage, obviously, is a true hidden gem. For my next trick, I'm going to show you No More Heroes. Such an excellent game, bonkers in every way.
Mario Party is the ultimate friendship ender. More so than when I had a fallout with my... Wait, no, Teal already did this joke. Anyway, you know, obviously there's some stage mini-games across the whole series.
Did you know there was a Pinocchio game? Look! Stage! Life just seems much simpler when you're listening to the Squid Sisters rock out in Splatoon. And I think with that, that's all our honourable mentions. Time for our personal number ones. Take it away, Rin.
How could this not be number one? It's a widely beloved classic sequence, not just for Final Fantasy, but gaming as a whole. Every element comes together to deliver Super Nintendo boundary-pushing storytelling. I can't even imagine what storyboarding this must have looked like, how long this took to complete by itself. Old school master Nobuo Uematsu didn't even know how to compose opera music when asked to for the scene. And how tricky it must have been to translate lyrics that would work within the song's structure and make sense, even if it was originally intended to be text only. Final Fantasy as a series jumps at every opportunity it gets to make what might otherwise be a standard required part of the plot into something entertaining, grandiose, and meaningful for both the characters and the player. Celis, forced to become an experimental Magitech knight by the one person in her life who showed any kind of care towards her. Only being seen and used as a weapon in a war she eventually tried to speak out against, losing what little she had left. She's eventually freed by Locke at one of her most vulnerable moments. Locke, being the guy that he is, of course sees something in her already. With the opera scene, that something is ignited. It's an opera about a princess and her beloved's countries at war. Celis just so happens to resemble the star actress. I think it is a bit silly to see this being played out in a Final Fantasy game, and it's silly for the characters as well. Locke sees her fully costumed for the role, and it's that moment where the views on each other fully unravel. Again, this sequence is not just a showpiece. They wouldn't go through all the effort of making this happen if it didn't progress the emotions and development of the characters in some way. The lyrics of the song clearly reflect Celis and Locke's relationship throughout the game. You can only imagine how Locke must feel sitting in the audience after having this much of a reaction to Celis' show look. The melody of this opera afterward even becomes a part of Celis' theme and combines with Locke's theme in the ending of the game. The rest of the opera, you feel just as much pressure as the characters do to make sure that everything goes as planned. You have to run from one end of the playhouse to the other, switching characters to hit levers and fight up in the rafters. Fighting Ultros on the stage, and having to remember the lyrics to the song just as Celis has to perform them. Heck, I'll even compliment the Pixel Remaster version here. It's been beautifully reorchestrated, and it features real vocals for the entire play in several languages. This required a team specifically for this purpose to make sure that every language's version of the lyrics matched with the animations and the timing of the song. Not to mention the 2D HD style just for this part to really make this scene evocative. It's even intentional that Celis's performance is comparably not as operatic as other live performances of the song since, well, when does Celis know how to sing opera? I just played through Final Fantasy VI for the first time myself last year, and it's really something to go through comments on videos of the opera itself and the OST about how much it touched everyone who played it. It gives even me chills to watch. It's even been performed by real orchestras, which I'm kinda shocked I had no idea about until now. It is absolutely a given though with how many Final Fantasy concerts there have been and continue to be, and how Final Fantasy is such a huge name that the music can be completely detached from the games if one didn't know about them somehow. It's not just video game music. Not that I would ever categorize music composed for video game usage to not be real music, whatever that means. It's just that it's so transcendental as to be a truly moving composition no matter how it's performed. This sequence will remain timeless.
I made a joke at the beginning about all the world being a stage. I think I can confidently say this game fits that description perfectly. Meet Puppeteer. Sony PlayStation's Japan studio has made so many masterpieces over the years, from Ape Escape to Shadow of the Colossus to Loco Roco to Gravity Rush. All of these have been exceptionally well received, but sadly never had great sales, and it's an almighty shame. Japan Studio has sadly been disbanded, which crushes me because that means we'll never see a third Gravity Rush game. And if you want to see my non-spoiler musings on Gravity Rush 2, well, haha, link in the description and in the corner and stuff. Anyway, guess what else was made by Japan Studio? That's right, Knack and its sequel Knack 2. But they also made Puppeteer! Puppeteer is Japan Studio's biggest commercial failure, and arguably one of the most creative games of all time. This gem for PS3 was sadly overlooked, and I can't begin to tell you how amazing it is. The entire game is set as a stage play, every single thing. You know how if you see a show on the West End or Broadway, it's one of the most extravagant things you can witness, and there's like a million moving parts and you wonder how it's all working? Well, maybe wonder after the show's over because you're too in awe as it's happening. Yeah, that's this game. Theatre come to life, where you control it all. Every moving part is meant to feel like it's an actual play. You are the moving parts. Sure, some of it is insane in how it all happens, but you'd be surprised what you can do in a theatre. There's so much they do to make every level varied, while still keeping the core goal in mind. Let's take Act 4 Curtain 2. They take the idea that this wall is constantly moving on a pulley system, utilising gears and machinery. It doesn't explicitly mention it, but you can see the cogs rotate. It's absolutely genius. Our protagonist is Kutaro, a young boy who is turned into a puppet and then is immediately decapitated. And they say theatre is dead. This leads perfectly to one of the game's core mechanics. Kutaro collects multiple heads, and each one of these heads has a different power, and the ability to change the world around him. Oh, and they also keep him alive, you know, as heads do. Kutaro was just a happy, carefree boy who enjoyed exploring the world and watching movies in bed, but when he loses all of his heads, he ends up in a different bed filled with dirt, marked by a big stone slab. But seriously, I have so much respect for the head mechanic. There are over 100 different heads, each with a different purpose. Puppeteer has a lot of head to give. You also utilise these magical scissors that are not only great at giving you an excellent haircut, but are also a triggering reminder of your recent decapitation. So are the heads, to be fair. Kutaro goes through a lot, but is surprisingly unfazed. The scissors known as calibers are used to cut open parts of the stage set to move on to the next scene, and I imagine in a real-world scenario this would be an absolute nightmare as you have to build a new set for each new performance. Whatever the props, costume and set designers are paid, it's not enough. You'll also hear cheers and shocks from the fake audience in every level, and it truly amplifies everything going on, and you never really know where it's going. It's just bonkers every step of the way, with incredibly creative levels throughout, which are super accurate to the experience of the theatre, both as a viewer and performer, with obvious exceptions. And it's also a stunning 2D platformer, dare I say one of the best ever made. I genuinely believe every person wanting to be a developer should play this game. It's a true marvel of squeezing every possible idea out of a concept and not wasting any of them. If just one game can be inspired by Puppeteer, we'll have something special. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, I would very much appreciate it if you would leave a like and subscribe, and please do share the video around, and please subscribe to Rin. Her videos are amazing, and hopefully you really liked her being on the channel. It was a lot of fun collaborating on this video with her. I also have a Twitch, a Twitter, and a Patreon if you'd like to support me in the channel. A huge thank you to my master tier or higher supporters: Melvin Windhagen, Darkfang, Sevfora, Luminant Gamer, TARDIS Type 40, Jayet, Sarah Essex, William Michael Hall, and Daniel Pace. I really appreciate all the support that you have given me, and I hope you have enjoyed this. It's been a long time coming. We've been working on this for many months, but it's something that I think turned out really well, and there's not a video covering stages in games, surprisingly, until now, and we wanted to make it as good as we could. So, you know, we covered all of it, or as much as we could, and in great detail, and with fun and flair, and yeah, I think we've nailed that brief. What was your favourite stage? Is it one that wasn't in this video? We definitely left some out because there's just too many to talk about. So yeah, let me know your favourite in the comments down below. No, but seriously, truly, thank you so much for watching, and please do check out Rin's content. Really cool. I know she's got a video in the works, I don't know when that'll be out, but that's very exciting. But yes, I will see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.